Well, here we are.
Here we go.
Here we go. Welcome to, I guess this is episode 3 of the Damiano Dimension, the Double D. Joining me here is Donnie Hart. Say hi, Donnie.
How are you, man?
To the fans out there.
It's good to be here. Thanks
Man.
for having me.
Thanks for being here. Girls went ahead and got their state championship.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that yesterday because, classes got canceled and stuff. What would have happened if they got hit with that coronavirus mid-playoffs?
What crazy thing happened, I guess, at the boys tournament. So, the boys lost, of course, in that regional tournament final here in Lubbock. So they didn't make it to San Antonio. But I had a cousin that was on a 1A school that made it to San Antonio for the state tournament. They actually played the semifinal game, and then the UIL canceled the rest of the tournament.
Really?
So they just sent them home. So they drove all the way down to San Antonio and said, sorry, guys, it's not worth the risk. We can't have all these people in here. So they sent them back home. And so it's just unfortunate, but, I don't know if they'll – I guess we'll just see how long this stuff lasts. I mean, if it goes on for several months, there probably won't be anything they can do. They just have to cancel everything. But hopefully it'll resolve pretty quickly, and maybe they can do some other things. And
I mean, are they going to, pick it back up or –
Doesn't look like it, especially with the basketball, because you're right down there at the end, and there's only, like I said, 2 games left for the teams that are down there. So it looks like basketball's pretty much wiped out. But the spring sports, I think are kind of hanging in limbo. If you're a golfer or baseball player, you're in trouble.
Whenever Donnie talks, the bar visual is tiny. Probably need to scoot the mic over to him a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess just put it on you.
Well, I could speak up a little bit.
Is it looking better?
That better?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's basically doing what I did for you.
Okay.
He's making sure we're doing good. Thank you, JC.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I wanted to ask you. Oh yeah, your boy turned down a $130 million contract.
Yeah. So Dak. I don't know where he's at.
He thinks he's Patrick Mahomes is what he wants.
Yeah. Well, I got news for him. Patrick's got the hardware, so.
I feel like the only one that can actually shoot for that contract, which he is Deshaun, and maybe Lamar too.
Yeah, well, those two guys, both. I guess you look at it and you say they've both been in MVP discussions. I mean, Dak really hasn't been able to go to that level, and he's been surrounded by so much more than both Deshaun and Lamar, and. In terms of the offensive end, because, he's got the great line. He's got Zeke back there in the backfield.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry's already shown you how much he loves Zeke by paying him. So,
of course.
We'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting. There's all kinds of little rumors and stuff I've been hearing or reading, I guess. Not really hearing, but reading around. So, maybe they'll franchise tag him. Maybe they'll just let him walk and franchise Amari. And, there's some dude up in Foxborough that wears number 12 that might be somebody to talk to.
Man, if he went on the Cowboys, I'd be pissed, dude. He's they're talking about putting him on the Raiders or the Bucks.
Yep. I've seen the Bucks, the Raiders, the Chargers, replace Phillip Rivers, which that kind of,
he's already a free agent. So I could definitely
they signed the CBA this morning. So
oh, really?
Yeah, it's in effect. They've set the salary cap at like $198 million. So they bumped it up $10 million from last year. So it ought to be fun. But they're trying. I saw a deal where several of the owners were saying, okay, we may not start all this free agent stuff just from an optics standpoint. I mean, most of it's done over the phone anyway, right? Like they don't have to go together and get together and do the negotiations and that type of stuff, but just probably not a good idea with everybody sort of sent back to their house to be talking out millions of dollars.
If my boy Doug got that coronavirus, man, I think I would cry. Man, I said, keep Doug Peterson safe, Howie. Yeah, man, it's gonna be, as long as it doesn't tip into football season, I'm okay.
Yeah, well, I think it's unfortunate because, you look at the statistics of it and you think to yourself, well, it's not really that big of a deal, right? Like, I mean, you're looking at it and you kind of comparatively, there's other things that are certainly, in terms of numbers wise, a lot more dangerous than what we've seen so far with coronavirus. But the deal is, and I'm a drug rep by trade, so I'm kind of in the medical industry and different things like that. And the mortality rate on it's really high. It's like 5 times what the flu is. So if it
Really?
did actually infect the same number of people that the flu actually infects, the mortality rate would be astronomically higher with the coronavirus. So I think they just kind of, maybe it is an overreaction, but it's an overreaction to err on the side of caution, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when they start canceling the things that they've canceled, the NCAA tournament, college sports, in
Regular
general,
basketball season.
you're talking about billions, trillions of dollars now at this point. And so Americans don't typically walk away from that kind of money. So I think there's something to it, unfortunately.
Of course. I mean, I think one of the things is they're kind of scared that it's going to be like the swine flu, because they cured the swine flu in the fall or in the spring.
Right.
And then it came back with a vengeance. And,
Right.
like, it's the summer, I believe. Am I right about that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, that's the
That's your job,
H1N1,
JC. Google.
Right? Yeah, Google it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they just gotta. I guess they just gotta make decisions that, are in the best interest of our health. It's not fun to be stuck at your house with nothing on TV.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
As long as the bars are open, I'm okay with it. I've been having a field day with this coronavirus, let me tell you.
You get plenty of toilet paper? You stock good?
Man,
and
I
stocked
need to
up?
go get toilet paper. I was watching all those memes while I was sitting on the toilet, and I was like, man, and I went, and I only have like 2 rolls left.
I think you'll be all right. One solution, you could go up to Home Depot and buy yourself one of those like bidets that you can attach to your toilet. They're like $40. It's
Man, people
about
are
as much as a
buying them
roll.
now.
Yeah.
Their sales are going up on the bidets.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Bidet or boudet? Boudoir?
Yeah.
Yeah. You like that Texas Tech flag?
Yeah, you got good stuff in here, man.
Yeah, man, we try.
This is throwback to the glory days for me. This is like flashback to my college days.
Speaking of those days, you were a wide receiver for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
What years was it?
Yeah, so I was there 95 through 98, which was right at the end of the Spike Dykes era. So if you know who Coach Dykes is, he's the coach right before Mike Leach got the job. So good old West Texas guy. And
Yeah.
So
How was it like playing under him?
Yeah, it was it was obviously a tremendous experience. We had lots of great players. We were a really good football team during that time, and he was just a good old boy coach. Started out in the Texas high school ranks and sort of worked his way up through Ballinger and Midland and some of these little cow towns along the way, and had spent some time at UT and came over here, and he was really a spectacular coach, but he surrounded himself with a lot of like old high school guys from the past.
Yeah.
So we had we had a good staff that had West Texas roots, and but I mean we had incredible players. I mean we had guys like Zach Thomas, who was up for the Hall of Fame this year. We had Byron Hansbard was a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, and then won the Doak Walker Award, rushed for over 2,000 yards. So back when rushing for 2,000 yards was kind of an accomplishment.
Oh yeah.
And
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, we didn't throw it like they do now. We I played on the outside, as outside receiver. It's kind of before even the Wes Welker, Danny Amendola role got in vogue. Where you put your white receiver on the inside, right, to go one-on-one against.
So
the
you
linebackers.
started it, Donnie. That's it.
No, I was on the outside with the big boys. But we did some really good things. We went to 3 bowl games out of the 4 years I was there. We're bowl eligible all 4 years. We had a self-imposed bowl sanction that we put on ourselves, and went 2-2 against Texas. Went 1-1 against Oklahoma. Went 3-1 against the Aggies. So, we were a pretty good football
Up
team.
over the
and,
Aggies. I love it.
Yeah. So,
Man, that those bowl appearances, man, that has got to. I mean, I couldn't. I played high school football,
right.
so like at the collegiate level is already right up there, and then to go ahead and do a bowl. I mean, what's that like?
Yeah, so you get the bowl season really is pretty special because the one thing about it is everybody's gone first of all, so the campus kind of is out for the holidays, so it's really just the team that's still here in town. So you go through two days all over again, that sort of thing, and get yourself ready to go to the bowl. But they really roll out the red carpet. There were lots of gifts and different things like that. Watches and jackets and
all the swag.
PlayStation. Yeah,
you got a
all the swag.
PlayStation?
Yeah. Well, back when PlayStations were just.
Did you get the PlayStation 2?
It was probably like the original one, the gray,
man,
like the gray one that had the button on the side. Yeah, see, Craig, I'm a lot older than you are.
They're giving out GameCubes.
Yeah, so, but it was really, it's really cool because then you go down and the host city has you about a week before the game, and they kind of take you around, let you do all the cool things that are come with their little town and their community. And we went to the Alamo Bowl, so we spent some time on the river walk, which for Texas guys wasn't all that new. I mean, we grown up doing that sort of thing. But you get Iowa, for example, is who we played, and so
they just said, what are they doing in Iowa?
So they thought the Alamo and the river walk was something incredible. And then went to the Independence Bowl, and that was in Shreveport, and so spent some time out on the casino boats and different things like that. So and then the other one was in Tucson, the Copper Bowl. So we played Air Force in the Copper Bowl, Iowa.
What was that like, playing the Air Force?
They were good. They were a good football team, but we needed to be respectful, just
of course,
because you're playing an academy, so those guys. It was a little bit different, sort of, I guess, on the field respect between the two teams. There wasn't as much trash talk, that sort of thing. Just because
it's just a game.
You're just playing football with and good guys. And it's funny because when you're at those bowls, you spend a lot of time at the same events. So you have to interact with them and be around them and different things like that. So
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it's,
Did you ever, not playing the Air Force, doing those other bowls, did you ever get into some arguments on the river walk with Iowa?
Well, being a receiver, I wasn't one of the frontline guys that was going to do much of the arguing. I would be standing off in the back, maybe cheering on our big boys. But yeah, there were some words exchanged and different things like that. But it's all in good fun mostly. I mean, once it gets game day, it's just a game. I mean, it's just football, and you got to go through your routine and execute your stuff. And if you don't, you're in trouble. And so you kind of, all the build-up and all the pageantry that sort of surrounds those bowls, it sort of works itself out.
That's cool, man. So would you say, definitely I feel like the college experiences, you think it's more fun being a part of the program? Oh, yeah. Well,
the thing about college sports, and I say this to a lot of the kids that I'm around now. They'll come up and they have aspirations of going and playing in college and different things like that. And it's certainly while you look back on it with a lot of sort of great memories and fondness and different things like that, it's a lot of work while you're there.
Yeah.
The commitment that you have to have and the work ethic that you have to have and the sacrifice, your love for the game has to outweigh all those things because, Coach Dykes used to tell us all the time you'll like this, but hey, if you want to go join one of those drinking teams over there off Quaker, go right ahead. But we've got meetings and we got practice, and you got to get your lift in and different things like that. And I'm not going to lie to you, there were certain times when you're 21 years old maybe, and it's August and we're in about our second week of 2 days where you don't sort of look over.
Look over Broadway.
You look over there and go, man, one of those drinking teams in the back of a Jeep with a pretty girl wouldn't be such a bad idea.
I might transfer.
Right now. But no, in all seriousness, the experience is incredible. It's awesome to get get to play college football and be a part of the history and all those things, not only for the university, but, just the sport in general. And, yeah, it's just some pretty incredible things, got to play against Peyton Manning.
That tweet
so,
that you posted,
Yeah. So, a lot of really cool things that obviously I get to take with me forever. But make no mistake, those guys are committed and dedicated and working hard while they're here.
It's crazy, man. That's awesome. My dad, he works. He's a middle school teacher in old Georgetown. One of the coaches, he used to play for Texas Tech football.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you the question because he asked the same question to him, and he said that it was fun, but it was also very organized. I mean, you're not able to go out on a Monday night to Broadway. Everything was very you're a unit.
Yep.
So I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that as well.
Yeah, and these I don't think it's changed a whole lot, since I've been there. I mean, maybe if anything, it might even be more structured, more organized now. I mean, they know so much more about training and nutrition and different things like that maybe they didn't quite control our diets the way that they would now. And so there were some freedoms given from the point, just because of the time frame that I actually played. But, during the season, I mean, it was pretty much 24/7 football. And then even in the off season, there were certain things that we had to get done in order to meet our expectations for our teams. But that's not to say we didn't make plenty of trips on Broadway. we spent our fair share there, too.
Of course.
There,
man, I don't see as many my buddy, he saw what's our quarterback's name?
Alan Bowman.
Yeah, Alan Bowman. He saw Alan Bowman at Raider Bar.
Yeah.
Alan Bowman's 19. Right? Or 19, 20. Yeah, but I mean, whatever. You're not going to say no.
There's ways around certain things. There was a place, this kind of old war story, there was a place here called Cowpokes. And so when we were younger, before you got 21, there were a couple of 21 clubs that the older college kids all went to, Midnight Rodeo and stuff like that. But there was a place called Cowpokes that when we were minors, you could kind of go over there and they took good care of football players.
Okay.
And recruits that came in. So
of course,
might have drank a flat keg beer pitcher or two over at Cowpokes.
I wouldn't say no to you, Donnie. If you came into my bar, I wouldn't say no to any football player. Maybe Duffy if you piss me off. Of course Duffy transferred.
I thought, hey, Duffy for no better than we were last year. He was probably one of the bright spots. I thought
he did put on.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely a couple times where he could have done better, but he did good for what he was given.
Right. Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I was looking at your highlights on YouTube. I wanted to ask you this question for a long time now because it's been floating around Texas Tech for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You lived it? You were in the trenches. Do you think that there is some how do I word this? Some stuff going on behind the scenes with the Big 12 refs? Do you think there's a little bit of animosity towards Texas Tech and the Big 12? Something for Baylor?
I'm gonna go ahead and. I mean, what do I have to lose? They're not going to ban me from the Big 12. Yes.
You think so?
I think so. And I can speak for that, from experience. We played in the first Big 12 game ever, and it was at Kansas State. And
that's exactly what I was talking about.
I catch a pass in the corner of the end zone and have both feet inbounds.
You did.
And they ruled it an incompletion. Said I was out of bounds. And then the next, so we did, and then we ran a third down play in which they tackled the other receiver in the end zone before the ball was there. So we had, not only did we get robbed of a touchdown catch by myself, we also had a pass interference not called that was a blatant pass interference in the end zone. Ended up having to settle for a field goal in which they blocked.
Yeah.
And then later in the game, we drive down right at the end, last possession, trying to tie the score, and had a fourth down and 12 from the 15-yard line. I ran a backside post, and ball came out a little high, went up and got it. And it was before they had the targeting rule, the helmet-to-helmet rule. And actually made the catch and was falling back towards the end zone, and guy just went helmet-to-helmet and just turned the lights out. And so I was asleep before I ever got to the ground, so I didn't hang on to the ball. We ended up losing that game. And then there was another one. We played at Kyle Field a couple years later. This was my senior year. And it was the only loss we had to A&M. But that my senior year, our football team, I mean, we were really, really good. We ended up being, I think we were 7-5, but our 5 losses, the largest margin of loss was like 6 points. So we lost by less than 6 or less in all 5 games, and it was really, really good, good football teams. But we lost at Kyle Field, and I caught a pass right at the end in the corner of the end zone, and the DB had pushed me out of bounds while the ball was in the air. So not only it should have been pass interference, but the referee threw his hat on the ground, which was to say I could come back in and catch the ball if I reestablished. I came back in, reestablished, caught it, and then he ruled that I was out of bounds on the reception. But they showed the Jumbotron back then. They put it up on the Jumbotron, and 80,000 people at Kyle Field there was a hush.
Yeah.
Catch, but no instant replay either one of those 2 times. So, so I've been on a couple of bad ends.
So you
of
know
those
you're
calls.
just
So I don't have much love for the officials. And then when they do stuff like they did against Baylor this year, where
that fumble,
and the guy that's actually making the call, that's not his call. I mean, he's supposed to be looking at the tackle and looking for false start. He's not supposed to be looking for illegal snaps and that sort of thing. The guy that's looking directly at the ball is supposed to say whether or not the snap's illegal and shut it down. He doesn't shut it down, and then some guy 25 yards out comes running in blowing a whistle, and it ruins a play that
it lost us the game.
Yeah, loses us the game, and
we would have got ranked, right? Or we would have moved up the Big 12 for sure.
And it's kind of funny how things like that go. Football is incredibly momentum based, so maybe our entire season looks different. I mean, you win that game on the road, your confidence goes up, your belief in what you're doing as a unit improves, and so who knows what happens. It could have been the difference in us making a bowl game or not. And it's all done because a guy oversteps his role within an officiating crew, and and they have fail safes now. I mean, you have
the instant replay,
all that stuff. So just
man in the box,
do what you're supposed to call, what you're supposed to call. Let the other guys figure it all out. But
I mean, I am an Eagles fan, but I do I do understand what the refs go through. But when you see I saw your highlight, and I saw that pass that you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I thought that was a catch. And then it wasn't until after the fact when the commentator said that wasn't a touchdown. But something blatant like that, you can't. What am I saying here, JC? You got to get real. I mean, come on. And I wanted to ask you what's going on the field when that's happening? When it's obviously a touchdown, it's obviously a fumble.
Yeah, there's probably some choice words being said, and it's tough. I mean, I'll be honest, it's tough as a competitor to keep your focus on what you're there to do, because you feel robbed. And, I mentioned the fact of all the time and the commitment that these guys have put in. So they've done all these things to get themselves in a position to be successful. And, to have a blatant error be the reason why you're not successful or you don't reach the goal that you get, it's really challenging as a team to stay focused on what's happening. And so that's what I mean about the call with Baylor. I mean, if they get that right and we win that game, the whole feeling of the season changes. I thought, as bad as we were last year, I thought from an effort standpoint we were much better than we've been in recent years. With Coach Wells, I thought he he had the guys playing. At least we were playing hard. I mean, we were trying.
Yeah, well,
hard.
at least it wasn't a blowout.
Yeah, and even we lose the game against Kansas because we're lateraling the ball to try to do. But those are plays like you're trying to do too much, right? So while that was not a great play and shouldn't have happened, you can at least accept those when your guys are laying it all out on the line for you.
Or at least trying.
So, if we get that call, I think it could have been a turning point in our season for sure.
Do you think? Yeah, that's why I'm glad that you agreed with me and most kids about what's going on in the Big 12 in this momentum. And then the same thing what happened with Kansas 2 weeks ago. Reddy got fouled at the 3-point line with like 1 second left.
Yeah, so you gotta you hate to be like conspiracy theorist here, but you kind of gotta like.
Oh, we love conspiracy in this room. All conspiracy theories.
You kind of gotta like do your homework about the money situation of everything, right? So you look at it and you say to yourself, okay, if Texas Tech beats Kansas and Kansas is not a number 1 seed in the basketball tournament, if we have one, what is the financial ramifications for the Big 12 conference? I've always, it's kind of the way it seems to work whenever you have a team that is, in football, they're playoff eligible or they're right on the cusp. I mean, they're going to get all the benefits of the doubt from the conference because, the difference being you have a representative in there, you get your piece of the pie, or you aren't represented in those tournaments and you're not able to get it. So if Tech beats Kansas and Kansas gets knocked off the number 1 seed and then we don't have a number 1 seed from the Big 12, does that make it harder for us to get to the Final Four to be able to bring in the kind of revenue that
is crazy to think about from a financial. Yeah.
So
you just added a new conspiracy theory. I think there's going to be a couple articles after this comes out.
So, to me, I mean, I think those are all things that maybe go on behind the scenes. Obviously, from a player's perspective, you're never aware of any of that kind of stuff. You just play the game and you just do what you came to school to do.
Yeah.
But it's pretty ironic how many times, if you look at it, teams like Texas in football, when the Big 12 first started, and Oklahoma now, how many times they get a call that is beneficial versus somebody who is not a blue blood that's trying to
Baylor, the
shine.
1%ers over there. I hate Baylor. I think Baylor's my new A&M, to be honest with you. I do not like them at all.
Right. Well, it's easy to not like a school when you have rape allegations and murder on the basketball team, and there seems to be no punishment for lack of institutional control. I mean, by definition, you would think they would have broken the record for most for most uncontrollable program, but
it's the money, man.
Be the case.
They're like the Lakers. I swear they don't have a cap. Man.
Well, at private school, so they have different rules and different regulations than we do, as in terms of recruiting and different things like that. So, yeah.
I grew up 15 minutes away from Baylor. My graduation was in their stadium.
Well, see, you should love Baylor.
It's gross. Man. I hated high school. If anything, it pissed me off even more.
And you're an Eagles fan, the green. I mean, come on, man.
No.
The worst combination.
This guy. love my Eagles, man. Speaking of NFL, you left once you left Tech, you spent some time with the Detroit Lions, right?
Yeah. Not much time, but enough for the coffee to get cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, got a chance as an undrafted free agent to try to make the Detroit roster, and so that was pretty incredible. I had some hamstring and lower extremity soft tissue issues my last 2 years of college, and so it was probably part of the reason why I wasn't drafted, and I was continuing to have some struggles with that late in my senior year, and was able to get healthy enough to go up there and put my best foot forward. And, it was a cool experience. I mean, got to
Yeah.
be in the locker room with Barry Sanders and Herman Moore, and Charlie Batch was our quarterback. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
What
I
was
guess.
Barry Sanders like?
Yeah, exactly what you think he was like. I mean, he
Quiet?
was just quiet and just phenomenal. I mean, just, you just couldn't believe that somebody could do the things that he could do. I mean, he was very vertically challenged, but he was all there. I mean,
What do you mean?
He wasn't real tall, but he was stocky.
Oh, yeah, he
had
was stout.
huge legs. I mean,
Yeah.
he was solid and just incredible, center of gravity. Amazing stop-start quickness and change of direction. Just
It makes you think with
Unbelievable.
players like that back in the day, how they would do with all of the new training and stuff like
Yeah.
that they have now.
Here's the deal. I mean, obviously the athletes now are. All you got to do is watch the NBA slam dunk contest, right? They're doing stuff in the slam dunk contest that
What are they on?
Michael Jordan couldn't have fathomed doing, right?
Yeah.
I think we would both agree Michael Jordan's probably the greatest basketball player ever. It's sort of one of those things where if you grow up in those certain times, guys, the greats, the Michael Jordans, the Barry Sanders, the John Elways, those type of guys would participate in all the things that the current great players are participating in. So their talents would be just as magnificent as what they are now. They would have the same nutritional diets. They would have the same weight programs. They would have the same speed and agility programs. And then some of it is just, it's kind of like when they broke the 5-minute mile or whatever it was, right? Like when the first guy broke the 5-minute mile, then all of a sudden, people started to be able to run the mile in 5 minutes. Well,
Yeah.
it's psychologically,
You don't know it can be done until someone does it.
and then several people do it. So,
Yeah.
I think Barry Sanders would have been just as great as Barry. Yeah, I mean Barry Sanders is Barry Sanders, right?
I would love to have Barry Sanders and Christian McCaffrey in the same fantasy draft.
Yeah,
So
it wouldn't be
I
bad,
wish.
would it? It wouldn't be a bad deal.
So what was it like? I mean, you did the combine, right?
No, I didn't go to the combine. I did the pro day here.
What's the pro day like? I don't even know what that is. to be
Yeah,
honest.
so they just bring all the scouts in here and put you through a mini combine. So then
Oh, okay.
you do 3-cone shuttle, and you do the 40, and you go in the weight room and do your 225 maxes. And then they set up little positional drills. So for me, it was route running, and we had a quarterback out there that threw routes, and we had DBs that were trying to go to the league. So we do a lot of one-on-one stuff and different things like that. So, it's highly stressful.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's sort of like your one shot, right? You're in front of it. You've got everybody there, and everybody's got their team gear on, and nobody's talking, no reaction. I mean, if you make a great play or a great catch, or there's no reaction.
No one cares.
It's poker face.
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
don't want to let the other people around them know who they like or what they were impressed with. So, and then you look at it now, and it's taken on a whole new meaning now. Like they have the NFL Network, and they put all the
You can watch it now.
yeah, they put the combines on the TV. So I can't imagine the stress that those guys are under, because you do your interviews with your teams, and it's funny because the answers I think they're looking for are probably out of character for most Texans in general. They want you to show confidence and to be that guy, to be brash and bold, and to be very, very self-confident. And while I had all those character traits, if we were having a conversation about that, I wasn't a bragger. That's how I looked at it. And so I had to work on those things, in interviews and different things, to be like, no, I'm pretty good. You should draft me. It just kind of went counterproductive to what I'd always been taught growing up
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be.
I mean, that's cool though. It's an experience that only a handful of people have ever gone through.
Yeah, it was really cool, and probably the best part about it while I was there, they had the George Strait little summer concert tour came through town, and as you can imagine, probably wasn't a whole lot of Detroit Lions dying to go see George Strait concert, right? So I was able to be one of the guys that got the Lions tickets for that, and we got to get up on stage and hang
Really?
out with the Dixie Chicks and hang out with Kenny Chesney. Kenny Chesney he was like maybe had two good songs, right? So
Yeah.
he hadn't become Kenny Chesney yet, so he kind of hung out up there, and there was
Chilling
maybe
with
4 or
Kenny
5 of us.
Chesney.
And
That's cool.
yeah,
man.
so it's kind of cool, funny, one of those stories you get to tell people. But yeah, so
Didn't you say you hung out with the wide receivers for the Lions, right? I mean, you were walking around with the per diem.
yeah. Well, I had a per diem, and they had some really good players there that had made a lot of money, and so those guys were really good to us rookies that didn't have anything, that were living over at the Residence Inn. So we had guys like Herman Moore and Johnny Morton. There was a guy from Ohio State, Brian Stabline. He played a couple years in the league, so they had some really good. We had some good vets that took pretty good care of us, and I had a red and black Camaro that my parents had bought me back in '95 when I graduated high school, and had T-tops and leather and all that good stuff. And
Nice.
I thought, man, I'm set. Right? And so I took my Camaro up to Detroit, so I'd have a way to get out of the area, because back then all the Lions headquarters and stuff was actually located out in Pontiac at the Silverdome, which is like 40 or so minutes outside of town. So we were just kind of like out in the middle of nowhere. And so I wanted a way, because we didn't have Uber and stuff like that in the '90s. So I wanted a way to get back and forth and maybe like catch a Tigers game, do something like that. And so I flew home and drove my car back to Detroit, and so I would, instead of having to ride the bus or the shuttle from the hotel to the stadium, I could take my car, and I pull up in my Camaro, and Herman pulls up in his Diablo. It's like, hey man, I'll park out in the back. Like, I'm sorry. So
You saw their houses, man. They got mansions.
yeah,
and stuff?
they had private roads and
Private
different things like
roads?
that. Well, it's a gated gate there, and you kind of go in through the gate, and you just take the little road up to the house.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's not, it's
Yeah.
probably not maybe a couple of 100 yards or whatever, but in Michigan, there's a lot more trees and stuff like that, so it felt like it's way off the road there, but it's a little different than Lubbock, where you can see for
You can
50
see
miles.
you can see Belton.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
So that's crazy though. I mean, I'm glad you came in and tell me that, because I mean, it's not often that I talk to someone that has actually been to that level, which is, I think, amazing.
Well, it was fun while it lasted, and then reality sets in, and you come back and you start your second career as a coach, and you think maybe that'll be the avenue you go, and next thing you know, you're a pharmaceutical sales rep calling girls basketball for Shallowwater on the radio. So it's funny how life works.
Life's weird. You got honored, right, by Texas Tech, didn't you?
Oh well, they had us. I was the letterman of the week or whatever. I guess for the Iowa State game this last year. So they had my family and myself out on the field and had a little clip play and all that. And so that's really cool. I mean, I grew up out in Wolforth, 10 minutes from here, and so when I was a kid, that part down there by the ticket off, and I assume it's still the ticket office. Everybody buys their stuff online now, but down there where the north end zone, it used to be a grass section, and you could buy like a grass ticket for like $5, And so it was just come in, lay a blanket down, hang out in the grass, and they didn't have nets and stuff
Yeah.
that kept the field goals from going into the stands. So as a kid, you try to catch a field goal, and they had all these little red and black plastic footballs, and the cheerleaders would throw. And, I mean, our parents would just drop us off. I mean, I'm 12, 13 years old. This is how different it is now for people. But, we just stand in the end zone, wait for a cheerleader to throw a ball, and if somebody was lucky enough to get it, we would go back out. We would leave the stadium, and to the north of that building down there on the north end, there was just a big sloped piece of grass, and I mean a tackle football game broke out every Saturday outside the stadium. And then sometimes it would be 5-on-5, and sometimes it'd be 25-on-25. I mean, just however many guys or girls wanted to play, mostly guys, but wanted to play. And so that's what I grew up doing and going to Tech games. And I know a lot of my friends and that supported me while I was at Tech were a part of all that growing up. And so it was really kind of cool to be able to stay home to go to college and then actually be one of those guys out on Jones Stadium turf that that was able to contribute while I was here, I guess.
It's a dream come true.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I mean, if you could have played for any NFL team, who would it be?
Well, I'm a Cowboys guy, so I would have had to put the star on my helmet. Denver would have been a close second, I guess. They're pretty close in proximity, and I love John Elway, and so Denver would have been a close second. But Philly would have been a long way down the list, Greg. I got to be honest.
Hey, man, we would have took anyone back in those days.
But honestly, I would have went. If I could have made a roster where whoever would have been great, it would have been a special deal. But I get to be, I didn't have anything to hang my head about.
You had a hell of a ride.
Yeah,
man.
I had a heck of a ride. Yeah, I had the Big 12 record for receiving yards in a game for about 12 years until Joel Falani broke it. Yeah, so I had one night against Texas. I caught 5 passes for 241 yards, and so that kind of led me to going to Detroit because Texas had this cornerback named Bryant Westbrook, and he was the 5th pick of that draft in '96, I believe that was. So, and he was that would have been the '97 draft that he was the 5th pick. But, so I had 5 for 241 against Bryant Westbrook, and then went to Detroit. And by the time I got there, though, he was the real deal. He was an all-pro corner, and so they kind of heckled me a little bit. The guys didn't even bother to learn my name. They just called me 241, really as a dig at Brian Westbrook, and he was spectacular while I was there. He was very, very welcoming and that sort of thing, but maybe in a couple of one-on-one sessions with the Lions, he paid me back for that night.
That's still cool.
He was
crazy.
He was a really good player.
Well, Donnie, man, I appreciate you coming on here. I don't want to keep you too far away from your family for too long.
Craig,
so
man, I appreciate you. I want to thank you for everything you did for the Shallow Water girls basketball. Well, for the Shallow Water basketball, you didn't just do it for the girls. We did boys and girls for about 2 months and
double headers
for twice a week, and you always were there and taking care of everything. And the girls end up winning the state championship, and that was my first ever gold medal for a state championship. They gave me a state medal for that. So you earned it. When we get those state championship T-shirts in, I've got one for you that I'll get to you. But I want to say thanks for that, because you made a guy who knows nothing about the radio sound good. So
I appreciate that, man. I try.
Yeah.
I definitely try. But man, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, hey, appreciate it, buddy.
Yes,
thanks.
sir.